Look who it is. A sharp voice cut through the air. It was Isabel, the queen of boxing, a world champion 2 years running. She stood imperiously in the middle of the gym, pointing at the timid 8-year-old who had just walked in. Looks like someone got lost on their way from one of those backyard gyms. Maya Campbell felt completely out of place in the luxurious space. Her worn-out gym bag and torn, open-toed shoes a stark contrast. Her dark skin was a clear reminder of a different world, where the gym membership fee alone cost more than 3 months of minimum wage. Isabel, the 7-year-old boxing champ, was notorious not just for her iron fists but also for her venomous words. Her career was built on social media taunts and outrageous statements that garnered millions of views. Her most recent Instagram post, captioned, "When you're born superior, you don't have to pretend to be equal," had amassed 500,000 likes. "Sorry," Maya mumbled, her eyes still glued to her cracked phone screen, trying to recheck the address. "I thought this was where the youth scholarship program was." Isabel's laughter echoed through the gym, followed by giggles from the crowd surrounding her. "Scholarship program? Honey, this isn't a charity center. We train real athletes here, not some random social experiments." Isabel narrowed her eyes, scrutinizing Maya. "The program does exist," Arthur, the gym owner and coach, said from his office, holding a stack of files. He looked at Isabel with a weary expression. "And Maya Campbell is on the approved list." Isabel rolled her eyes dramatically. "Really, Arthur? Are you turning my training ground into an NGO? My sponsors won't like this." "Your sponsors pay for results, not for your opinions on who trains here," Arthur replied dryly. Isabel approached Maya, a wicked smile spreading across her face. "You know what? Since you're so eager to train with the big girls, why don't we see if you actually belong here?" The gym fell silent. Everyone understood what was about to happen. A sparring match. Isabel savored each word. "You and me. 3 rounds. If you last, you can stay. If not..." She waved her hand dismissively, as if swatting a fly. Maya felt dozens of eyes on her. She knew it was a trap, a public humiliation designed to break her spirit. "I accept," Maya responded, her voice eerily calm, without a trace of a tremble. Isabel frowned. She had expected tears, fear, or pleas. Instead, she got only a cold, decisive nod. "Are you sure? Because when I'm done with you, you'll be wondering if dreaming big was ever worth it." "I'm sure," Maya repeated, and for the first time since arriving, a smile touched her lips. Isabel, the arrogant queen, had no idea she had just challenged the wrong person. In the slums of Jamaica, where the law of the jungle prevailed, Maya Campbell had never been weak. She was known as Lightning, because like every bolt of lightning, her true power only unleashed itself once the storm had formed. While Isabel gloated, planning to turn Maya into a social media spectacle, Arthur saw a spark of determination in the young girl's eyes. He shivered, recognizing an extraordinary talent hidden beneath her fragile appearance. News of the friendly match between the queen and the unknown girl spread like wildfire. It wasn't just a rumor. Arthur had made a short, purposeful phone call. "I've got a great story for you," he told a renowned sports journalist. A poor girl from the slums, on scholarship, challenging champion Isabel on her home turf. A modern-day David and Goliath story. And just like that, the fuse was lit. Less than an hour later, the gym was packed with unfamiliar faces. Several sports journalists, with their keen noses, were already there, ready to film. Isabel, instead of being annoyed, reveled in the attention. She turned the ring into her own stage, pacing like a peacock. Phone pointed directly at her face. "Guys, you won't believe what's happening," Isabel dramatically told her 2 million followers. "Some unknown girl, probably a huge fan, wants to test her limits. I'm going to teach her a lesson in humility she'll never forget." Comments flooded in like a waterfall. "Destroy her, Queen. These people need to know their place. Show them what real boxing is, Queen." Isabel smiled, completely satisfied. This was exactly what she wanted. A display of absolute power, an affirmation of her dominance. While Isabel basked in the fake glory, Maya retreated to the shabby women's locker room at the end of the hall. The air was thick with the smell of cheap disinfectant and neglect. Her hands weren't trembling. They never had before a fight, but her heart pounded wildly, a mix of suppressed anger and buried painful memories. Arthur entered the locker room, closing the creaky door. "Maya, you don't have to do this," he said, his voice filled with worry. "I know this scholarship is important, but it's not worth getting hurt over her arrogance." "I won't get hurt," Maya replied, her voice unusually calm as she tried on the worn leather gloves she'd borrowed. "She's a 2-year world champion. She has professional technique, knockout power, experience. And you have something she'll never have," Maya interrupted, looking directly into the seasoned coach's eyes for the first time. Arthur frowned. "What's that?" "Honga." The word echoed in the humble locker room, carrying a weight far beyond its ordinary meaning. Arthur, with 30 years of coaching hundreds of athletes, rarely heard a word spoken with such conviction. That night, in her cramped Bronx apartment, Maya didn't sleep. She was with her older sister Kira, who now used a wheelchair, her once powerful legs immobile. They rewatched old tapes of Kira, nicknamed Thunder, with her powerful, storm-like punches. "You almost had it all, didn't you?" Maya whispered, gently massaging her sister's unmoving legs. Kira squeezed her sister's hand lightly. "Now, you are my thunder and my lightning, Maya. Show them the power of the Campbells." At the same time, in a luxurious penthouse overlooking Manhattan, Isabel walked into her marble-tiled bathroom. The proud queen mask fell away, revealing a face full of anxiety and despair. With trembling hands, she took out a syringe and a vial of clear liquid from a hidden box behind the mirror. It was performance-enhancing doping, a dark secret she used to maintain her status. She gritted her teeth, injecting the forbidden liquid into her shoulder muscle. A hiss escaped, followed by a burning sensation. The queen's crown was built on deceit, and every fight was a dangerous gamble, pushing her body to its limits. She believed no one knew this secret. In another part of the city, after leaving her sister's place, Maya stood before the cracked mirror in her room. She wasn't looking at her face, but at her moving reflection, practicing lightning-fast dodges and shadow punches. She didn't just see herself. She saw Kira. She saw thunder and lightning as one. Tomorrow's match was no longer a sparring session. It had become a battle far greater than a mere confrontation of buried secrets, searing pain, and burning desire. Both women, in their own ways, were fighting for their very survival. In the locker room, Maya calmly wrapped her hands, her gaze as sharp as a predator's. The door swung open, and Arthur entered with a grave expression, leading her into his small office filled with memorabilia. "Do you know why I gave you that scholarship?" Arthur said, his voice husky. "Many years ago, I coached Isabel and your sister, Kira." The name Kira hung in the air. Arthur looked up at an old photo on the wall, Kira radiant next to Isabel. But even in that moment, Isabel's eyes held a hint of jealousy. Kira was a natural talent. Arthur continued, his voice filled with pride and sorrow. "They called her Thunder. She was stronger, faster, and had the heart of a champion. Isabel knew it, and she couldn't stand it." He clenched his fist, continuing his story. "That decisive semi-final match, the winner would secure a spot on the national team along with a lucrative sponsorship deal. I knew Kira would win, but Julian Croft, Isabel's manager now, and a venomous snake, also knew it." Pain was etched on Arthur's face. During the break between rounds, Julian secretly put a muscle relaxant in Kira's water bottle. The colorless, odorless drug made her muscles weak, her reactions slow. When the next round started, I knew something was wrong. Kira's punches lost their power, her movements were sluggish. And Isabel, she knew. I saw it in her eyes when she realized. She could have stopped, but she didn't. Arthur's voice cracked with anger and regret. She took advantage of it. She didn't just win. She deliberately landed brutal blows to Kira's knee and shoulder joints, the most vulnerable places. She wanted to ensure Kira would never return to the ring. She stole your sister's career, and then she betrayed me, going with Julian and his rotten kingdom. Arthur bowed his head, his shoulders shaking with helplessness. I tried to expose them, but there was no evidence. My word against Julian's money and power. I failed to protect my student. He lifted his head, his eyes filled with cold determination. Arthur looked straight at Maya, no longer seeing her as a young girl, but as an emissary of justice. I couldn't get justice in the ring or through the law. So I found another way. He pointed outside, towards the ring where Isabel was waiting. This scholarship isn't charity, Maya. It's a weapon. A weapon I'm giving you to reclaim justice for your sister. Arthur's words struck Maya like a lightning bolt. All the pieces of her family's tragedy, the unanswered questions, Kira's lingering pain, suddenly clicked into place. Her vague anger and hatred now had a clear target, a face, a name. This was no longer just about dignity. This was about revenge. She remained silent, simply nodding. That silence was more terrifying than any vow. She pulled out her phone and dialed Kira's number. When her sister's face appeared on the screen, Kira saw a distinct change in her sister's eyes. Maya, what's wrong? I know, Maya said, her voice trembling with suppressed emotion. I know everything about her, about what happened to you. A tear rolled down her cheek, a tear of pure rage. I'm going to do this for you. On the screen, Kira shook her head, a sad but resolute smile on her lips. No, Maya, she said, her voice like a command. Do this for yourself. Write your own legacy. But remember, in your veins, there is my thunder. The call ended. Maya wiped away her tears. The timid girl who had walked into the gym an hour earlier had completely vanished. Standing there now was lightning, empowered by thunder. She was no longer fighting to stay. She was fighting to end a reign. The opening bell rang. As expected, Isabel attacked immediately, unleashing a flurry of quick jabs followed by a powerful right cross aimed straight at Maya's head, wanting a perfect knockout clip. With hundreds of hours of watching Kira's tapes and Arthur's warnings, Maya wasn't just looking for an opening. She was absolutely certain of it. She had seen it. Every time Isabel threw a right punch, a small twitch in her shoulder muscle, an almost imperceptible hesitation, followed by a fleeting grimace. Clearly, Isabel was hiding a weakness. Isabel attacked instantly, throwing a series of punches through the air where Maya had just dodged. What the hell, she muttered, frowning as her punches missed their target. Maya moved like smoke, always one step ahead, just out of reach, gliding across the floor with extraordinary fluidity, as if anticipating Isabel's every move. Hold still, you brat, Isabel roared, frustration beginning to creep in. The more furiously she attacked, the more smoothly Maya moved, turning Isabel's power into meaningless punches. Then it happened. The moment Isabel lost her balance after a miscalculated cross, Maya counterattacked. Her left fist landed hard on Isabel's face with a sharp sound that echoed throughout the gym. Isabel staggered, her hand clutching her face in disbelief. She had never been hit so cleanly by a smaller opponent. No way, she whispered. But Maya had already moved back. What followed was a display of boxing that silenced the entire gym. Maya wasn't just fighting, she was conducting a symphony of controlled violence. Every punch, every movement, every dodge was calculated and purposeful. Isabel desperately tried to use her weight and reach advantage, but it was futile, like trying to catch lightning with bare hands. For every punch she threw, she received 3 back. The more she advanced, the more Maya anticipated and counterattacked. Who is this girl? Arthur smiled from where he was watching. Lightning Campbell, he murmured, with proud but calculating intent. The moment of truth came in the second round. Isabel, gasping for breath, her face swollen, realized the biggest mistake of her career. Social media comments shifted, openly mocking, "Where's the world champion? That Jamaican girl is destroying her." Julian Croft screamed frantically, but Isabel couldn't hear him amidst the roar of the crowd cheering against her. That's when Maya decided to reveal her true nature. She wasn't just avenging Kira. She was herself. Lightning was never just a nickname, she said calmly, advancing on a panicked Isabel who was backing into the ropes. It was a warning. The ensuing combination of punches was so fast that phone cameras could barely record it. "Show her the power of the Campbells." Arthur's voice boomed like a rallying cry. In a brief clinch against the ropes, their faces mere centimeters apart, Maya whispered, her voice icy, just loud enough for Isabel to hear, "This one's for Kira." A jolt went through Isabel. Her face went pale, her arrogance replaced by absolute horror. "You? Who are you?" she stammered, trying to push Maya away. "You don't recognize me?" Maya replied with an elbow jab to the stomach, doubling Isabel over. "You don't recognize the eyes of the person from whom you stole everything?" The truth hit Isabel like a brick wall. This girl, Kira's sister. The guilt and fear she had buried for years now surged, suffocating her. Straight punch, cross, hook, uppercut. 4 punches in less than 2 seconds, all landing with precision. Isabel crashed to the canvas like a crumbling building. The gym exploded in cheers, shouts, and camera flashes. Ring! The bell ending the second round saved Isabel from a complete collapse. She staggered to her corner, her legs trembling. Julian Croft tried to speak, but Isabel just stared at Maya with horror-filled eyes. The trap they had set had sprung on them. Isabel tried to stand, but her legs wouldn't respond. For the first time, the undefeated world champion was floored by someone she called a social project. The Queen's eyes rolled back. Her entire body seemed drained of life. She collapsed to the canvas, unconscious before she even hit the ground. Silence enveloped the gym for just a second, then erupted into a deafening roar. Everyone was screaming, phones still filming frantically. The journalists had their story of the century. But Maya didn't celebrate. She didn't raise her hands, didn't shout. She stood quietly, looking down at her opponent's motionless body. Her eyes were both cold like an executioner's and pained like someone who had lost something. She had brought justice for her sister, but she knew this victory had a bitter taste. In a corner of the stands, hidden behind the crowd, Arthur smiled. It wasn't a smile of joyful victory, but the chillingly satisfied smile of a successful avenger who had just witnessed his pawn execute a perfect checkmate. That smile was more terrifying than the knockout itself. The smell of sweat, liniment, and bitter victory permeated the locker room. Maya sat alone, unwrapping her hand bandages. The cheers had subsided, but their echo still lingered. She had defeated the Queen, reclaimed Kira's honor, but instead of elation, a cold emptiness crept in. The door opened, and Arthur walked in, his face beaming with joy. He handed Maya a cold water bottle. "You did it, Maya. You did it," he exclaimed. "An unbelievable performance. You showed the world the true power of the Campbells." Maya only nodded, taking the water but not drinking. Arthur sat next to her, his excitement undiminished. He clapped her shoulder firmly, a pat of pride and complicity. "We did it," he said, his voice lowering but full of satisfaction. "Finally, I made that bitch and Julian pay." Just one word. It rang in Maya's head like an alarm bell. Not we as in teacher and student, but I as in someone who had achieved a personal goal. The emptiness in Maya's heart turned into unease, cold doubt. She looked up at Arthur, seeing for the first time not a kind coach seeking justice, but a man reveling in his own victory. "You seem very happy," Maya said, her voice flat. "Happy? Maya, this is more than happiness. This is justice." Arthur laughed loudly, but the laughter didn't reach his eyes. For years I had to watch them get away with it. Now what? Isabel will never recover. Julian will be investigated. Their careers are over, right here, tonight. Just then, Arthur's phone rang. He looked at the screen, gave a cryptic smile, and walked to a corner of the room, whispering, "Everything went even better than expected." Yes, the girl is a wonderful tool, a lightning bolt controlled by her own anger. No, she has no idea. She thinks this is about justice for her sister. That's right, I arranged everything. From accidentally finding her in the Bronx, to creating the scholarship, then leaking the news to the press to provoke Isabel. I knew Isabel's personality. I knew she'd take the bait. I set the trap, and they both walked right into it. Every word of Arthur's was like a knife plunging into Maya's heart. The cold, brutal truth crashed down. She wasn't the one delivering justice. She was just a pawn, a living weapon sharpened by pain and used for someone else's vendetta. Arthur wasn't seeking justice for Kira. He was seeking revenge for himself. He was just as ruthless and calculating as Isabel and Julian. The feeling of victory from minutes before vanished, replaced by disgust. Disgust for Arthur. Disgust for herself for being so blindly led by anger. This fight wasn't a win. It was just another cycle of hatred, and she was the one who pulled the trigger. Arthur ended the call, turning back to Maya, still smiling, ready to be a star, champ. Maya looked up, and Arthur saw her true eyes for the first time. Not shyness, not a fighter's focus, and not gratitude. It was betrayal. She stood up, looking directly into the eyes of the coach who had deceived her. "You're no different from them," she said, her voice as cold as ice. Confusion flickered across Arthur's face, before it hardened as he realized he'd been exposed. Maya said nothing more. She picked up her worn gym bag and walked out of the room, leaving Arthur alone with his empty victory. She had overthrown a queen, only to realize she was serving another king. A king even worse, because he hid behind the facade of righteousness. And Maya knew her real fight had just begun. The next day, the sports media exploded. The Queen falls. The mystery of Lightning Campbell. The empire of Isabel and Julian Croft crumbles. Arthur found Maya in the empty gym, a stack of lucrative contracts in his hand. "This is what you deserve, Maya," he said, trying to keep his voice normal. "This is your future. We'll build a new empire together." Maya didn't even glance at the contracts. She looked straight into Arthur's eyes, her gaze clear and resolute. "You're no different from them." She repeated her words from last night, but now there was only disappointment and a steely resolve. "You're also willing to sacrifice others for your own grudges. You turned my sister's pain into a weapon for yourself. Your victory isn't clean." She pushed the contracts back towards Arthur. "I refuse." Arthur was stunned. "What are you talking about? You're throwing away an entire future." "I'm not throwing away my future," Maya replied. "I'm taking it back from you." Instead of signing million-dollar contracts, Maya held a press conference. Standing before dozens of cameras, no longer timid or cold like an avenger, Maya calmly and forcefully told the entire story. She not only exposed Julian Croft's dirty scheme that had ruined Kira's career, but also publicly revealed Arthur's manipulation, how he had orchestrated everything, turning her into an instrument of revenge. "Justice cannot be built on deceit and hatred," she said into the microphone, her words echoing around the world. "I won in the ring, but I will not let that victory be tainted. I will forge my own path." The boxing world was shaken. Julian Croft was investigated and permanently banned. Isabel lost all her titles, contracts, and reputation, disappearing from public view. Arthur's plan was also exposed, costing him all credibility and making him an outcast. Maya had overthrown not one, but two kings on the chessboard. And then she stepped off it. At a modern rehabilitation center, Kira Campbell walked for the first time in years, with the aid of parallel bars. Each step was shaky, difficult, but her smile was radiant. Maya had used the small prize money from the fight and donations to open a small gym in the Bronx. It wasn't flashy, didn't have expensive equipment, but it was full of life. A wooden sign above the door read, "Campbell Legacy." Kira, now walking with crutches, became the tactical coach, imparting her knowledge and experience to the neighborhood kids who came from similar backgrounds as she and her sister once did. One afternoon, as Maya was showing a young girl how to throw a jab, Isabel appeared at the door. She looked haggard, no longer arrogant, just a woman who had lost everything. She handed Maya an envelope. "I sold everything I had left. I want to donate to this place." Maya looked at the envelope, then into Isabel's eyes. She saw genuine remorse. She pushed the envelope back. "We don't need your money," Maya said, her voice not harsh. "But if you want, you can help the kids clean up the gym after training." They didn't become friends. The wounds were too deep to heal completely. But an unspoken understanding and respect had formed. The final scene shows Maya and Kira standing side by side, coaching a new generation of fighters. Their smiles were genuine and free. Around them, the sounds of laughter and punches hitting punching bags blended, creating a symphony of hope. Maya had chosen integrity over easy success. She had proven that true strength lies not in knockouts, but in the ability to break the cycle of hatred. Her ultimate victory wasn't a championship belt. It was rebuilding her family's legacy in the cleanest and most meaningful way, free from the manipulation of power games. She had written her own story, with her own hands and heart.